Welcome back, everybody. So I talked a lot in the first hour, and I'm going to try now to wrap up on the few slides that are left so that we have time for the quiz. So the last aspect that I wanted to say is that in a way you can treat the universe as a database and as a computer. Why a database? Well, I have in mind some work at Cornell University by Johannes Gerke about the implementation of real-time strategy games like the Settler, Civilization, and so on, where in fact the updates of the state of the game can be seen as database updates, and you can consider it as a database system. But then if you extrapolate, could it be that the world in which we live is actually a virtual reality with a database and so on, like to see the universe as a computer? And so these are also just like when you get into philosophy and questions about life, the universe, and everything, then it's kind of interesting to also look at it in this way. Like it's kind of anti-entropic, right? Because entropy would say normally when a system evolves, it just evolves into more and more disorder. But in fact, what we are observing with life and civilization is the other side, that we keep building structure. And so maybe the more we look into millions or billions of years into the future, the universe actually becomes more and more structured. But anyway, now we are getting really out of scope of a database lecture. Just food for thought. So right now, what I would like is an enormous applause for the TAs who were there during the semester. That was a long applause. It totally deserved. All right, so we had a course evaluation. So every year it changes. 1 year is going to be the course in itself, and every other year the exam. So thank you for filling it. That gives us feedback on things that we can improve in the future. And so normally the course evaluation should be made public. So I'm showing you the results. Of course, as a teacher, seeing that you actually understood all the stuff that I have been telling you is the best reward that a teacher can get. The TA team also got very good evaluation. So congratulations. Some of the TAs even got named in the comments. So then I forwarded to the TAs the very nice comments. I'm sure that it also feels great for them to hear the positive feedback, right? And also what I like to see is if you're able to explain the material to younger students, because that's the best way to learn is to teach, right? Always this idea. And then these two in the middle, the goal is to be in the middle. Here, the required knowledge and in comparison to the other courses. But my personal goal is to be a bit on the left. So I'm happy with that. What I had in mind is you heard of the packet reform, right? The idea that we want to give you a bit more air to breathe between the semester and the exams. So in 27, there is the ongoing project to bring the exams closer to the end of the semester, to have more vacations and so on. And part of the packet project is to address the workloads of the students. So I know that, I see it even with some of the students that I might have supervised, that it's a very high workload that you have. And we really have the intention generally at ETH to address this. And so I'm very mindful of the workload that I put on the student shoulders and to not overwhelm you with too much material. One of the aspects of what's going to happen in Packet is that the number of weeks that they are, for example, in the fall semester, apart from 1 more week of break in the middle, is that the material will go from 14 weeks to 13 weeks, right? So there is this desire to compact a bit more, to have slightly less and higher quality knowledge. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about it. I prefer to see this slightly to the left and slightly to the right. Okay. Then a few words about the exam. So everything you've seen during the semester is materials. So the textbook, the slides, the theoretical and practical exercises, the clicker questions, even though, of course, the structure of the clicker question is farther away from the exam because the goal is to make you think. Oh, what I forgot to say about the evaluation is some of the feedback that we took and will address is we are aware of the Docker, the fact that there's many Dockers, different Dockers. There is the aim of unifying them. We first wanted to do it this semester, but for some reasons we had to postpone it to next semester. But there is this goal of having less Dockers and more unified. We try to log all of the errors that you have had so that we keep an FAQ of the known problems for the next semester. So thank you very much for the feedback. So this is on our minds. Some of the, what else did I get as feedback? For example, some people would wish more text on the slides. Here, the idea is really that there's the textbook, which was the popular request a few years ago, and the idea is really that the written form to study is the textbook. The slides is just behind me when I speak, right? So I'm actually part of the slides when I explain things on the recordings. But this confirms that everyone has a different way of taking in information. Some people prefer to read it in a quiet room. Some people prefer to listen. Some people prefer to practice. And so I'm trying to give you all this variety of ways to play and learn the material. All right. What can I say on the exam itself? It's going to be a computer-based exam on an ETH computer, so it's not on your own devices. Don't need to worry about that. ETH devices, Windows, no Docker, it's just virtual machines, everything pre-installed, and it should just work. These will be Moodle questions, at most 60 questions. Some of them will be programming questions, and I told you it's just going to be PostgreSQL, PySpark, Spark SQL, or data frames if you prefer, and JSONic. The data, we give it to you in advance. We'll give you the Jupyter notebook you're going to have on exam day, including the data sets. It's going to be part, I think it's already in Docker v4, I think. We'll check if it isn't. But normally in Docker v4, you also have the fall 2024 notebook that you're going to have at the exam. All right, so most of the questions will be theoretical, but there will be in 4 of the parts some questions where you ask you to write a query. We grade the answer. We also ask you to copy-paste the query, but this is ungraded, right? The reason we want the query is to understand if many people give a different answer, we need to understand where that came from, and that helps us grade the exam and grant more points if we accept more answers. So this is the idea. So really, if you can put, even though it's ungraded, try to copy paste your queries. This is really helpful to us to have a trace of that. During the exam, if there's any technical problem, raise your hands. What typically happens is that there's the TAs that can do the first level support, then there's second level support with a team from the ETH digital exams team. What happens is that we note down the time and we credit it back to you. So if you lose 5 or 10 minutes because things are frozen or something, really raise your hands when that happens so that we can note down the time and then you'll get it back at the end. But there is a problem that you can often solve alone is if just a query hangs. Often, especially with PostgreSQL, all you need to do is restart the Jupyter kernel. That's you can just pick it in the menu, restart kernel, and that often does the trick, right? But if it doesn't suffice, then the TIs are here for you, and we have also a team of experts of the infrastructure. So it's quite a challenge to run an exam for more than 400 people. Probably is going to be spread over multiple rooms, but we have a wonderful TA team, so that should all work well. All right, and we'll send you more information by email about when we know the location. We'll give you the room that each one of you will have in advance to diminish your stress. All right, and now we can move on to the quiz. Do you have any questions on the exam before that? Yes?
Maybe regarding the queries, is it possible that you have to use a certain kind of language for this particular question, or like this one is with PySpark or similar?
So it's going to be PostgreSQL, so the SQL, Python for PySpark, like you did in the exercises, Spark SQL on data frames, and JSONic. These are the 4.
Yeah, but is it not, for example, forbidden to use JSONic for some kind of query?
Yeah, that's a very good question. No, it's not forbidden. If you think that JSONic is the greatest language in the world and you want to solve instead of PySpark or data frames, then use JSONic, right? So absolutely, we don't care. If the answer is correct, the answer is correct, right? You can also use it to double check, right? If you use multiple approaches for the data. The only thing you can't do is solve the PostgreSQL queries with something else, because here you really need to be connected to PostgreSQL where the data is. But I think that for the other 3, it's just a JSON lines file. So you can really use another one, right?
Thank you.
All right, yes?
So to the extent that PySpark and Spark SQL can both be used for some of the same problems, are we going to be able to choose between the 2 of those, or are we going to be required to?
So the way the exam is formulated, we specifically tell you for these questions use PySpark, for this question use Spark SQL, and for these questions use JSONic. We really tell you. But all the spirit of my answer to the other question is, if you want to use a different technology on the same data, you can, because what we grade is the answer. We don't grade the query, but the answer. So if somebody found the correct answer using Spark SQL instead of PySpark, and the answer is correct, then you get the points, right? That's the spirit.
Gosh, all right. So would it make sense then to like memorize this?
On the machine. It's quite tough because we need to actually download and download the entire documentation. We also have the constraint that it has to fit under 50 megabytes that ETH gives us. But we will try to give you the PostgreSQL documentation, PySpark, Spark SQL, JSONic. So we'll try to have that on the exam machine. We will show you this documentation in the Moodle. We'll give it to you in the Moodle so that you see what it looks like. Just keep in mind that you're not connected to the internet, so you cannot use the full text search. You cannot search for text. So it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with the structure of the documentation so that you can easily navigate it. Right?
Thanks.
So I had a very similar question. Does that mean we don't have to learn anything by heart? Or because you said you will try, and I'm traumatized after 5 or 6 years of ETH.
No, I don't recommend that you just say, okay, the documentation is there, I'm not learning. That's absolutely not recommended. Even in real life, it's always a good idea to know some things by heart. In fact, I compare that to indices. If you have a hash index or a tree index, then a query executes faster. If you learn by heart the grammar of the language and you're able to directly write and know transformations by heart, it's as if you have a hash index in your head. And having a hash index in your head accelerates you solving the exam. So that's how I would put it. It is beneficial to learn some things by heart in real life. That makes you faster.
I agree, but do we have the documentation, or is it like a best? You try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, or can we count on it there being documentation or not? I guess that's my question.
I would say you can count on it, because the reason why I think I wasn't comfortable saying we will, but we try, is that I'm currently fighting with getting it under 50 megabytes. That's the reason. But I think that even if it's slightly over it, I can just kick out parts that are irrelevant to the exam. So yes, you'll have documentation on exam day. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It keeps growing. I mean, it was under 50 megabytes for PostgreSQL, and then the newer version is like 51 or 52. And I'm like, okay, how do I remove 1 or 2 megabytes of that to satisfy? Yeah.
You said that we should provide the queries, but they're ungraded. If for some reason we forget to provide the query, will we still be awarded the points?
Yes, it's ungraded. Even if it's empty, it's still ungraded. If the solution is correct, if the result is correct, this is what we grade. Right. Try to respect the formatting. We tell you like use points instead of comma and so on, no spaces. We still try to be nice. We still try to grant points if it's small things like that. By respecting the formatting instructions, you make it easier for us to grade and to grade correctly. So that also avoids errors. So if you can try to respect the formatting instructions, that's really a good thing. right? Yes?
So maybe again about the documentation, is it like it is still a subset of the documentation, or is it the entire documentation that is then again rather hard to navigate?
It was the entire documentation last year because it was below 50 megabytes. For Spark, I needed to cut it into several pieces to reach below 50 megabytes. So it might be, if it's slightly above, I might remove irrelevant things, but I'm doing my best to have it as complete as possible. I mean, if you think of it, a lot of the documentation is totally useless in the context of the exam because the queries we use, it's really some of the core parts of the language.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. You know, we added the documentations, we give you the data in advance just to make you feel better. In the first years where we had the exam, there was no documentation. The data sets were not shared in advance. The notebook was not shared in advance, and the students did well. So by giving you the data in advance, the notebook in advance, and the documentation, we want to diminish your stress. We don't want to increase your stress even more because now you have to prepare to the documentation, right? The goal is really to diminish your stress and make you feel more comfortable on exam day, right?
Changes. I mean, I guess this is not the case, but it was the notebook. You have a notebook, but you don't have the questions. You just have like an introduction to the data set or.
Yes, exactly. And you see it in advance. You can see in the Docker, the previous years, it's very similar, right? So the notebook just has an introduction to the data set and some queries, but the exam is in the Moodle. For the exam, only the Moodle counts. The questions are in the Moodle and you should give your answers in the Moodle. Right?
It's just to run the queries.
Yep, it's just to run the queries, absolutely. Yeah. All right, should we move on to the game? All right, so here's how it works. I'm going to ask you plenty of questions in the clicker application. I'm going to ask everybody who wants to participate to stand up right now. So everybody stand up. Of course, it's not obligatory, but everybody who wants to participate, stand up. On Zoom, please raise your hands. Everybody on Zoom who wants to participate, keep your hands raised. And so what's going to happen now? So I need again the silence so that I can explain. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you questions and you have to give correct answers for as long as possible. The one person that survives the longest, like everybody disappears in between and there's one survivor, they get the trophy. The trophy was printed by Marco. So Marco, you can bring now the trophies. You can show them to the room that was done in the student project house. Yeah. So one of the trophies goes to the one of you who will outlive every. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So. So this is the trophy. Yes, exactly. You can barely read it. So it's written, winner of the lecture quiz in Big Data 2024. And the other trophy, it's because we also have a competition between you and the TA team. So now the question is, will the one of you who survived the longest also survive longer than the TA team? Or do the TAs survive longer? The TAs can speak with each other. You can you will write your answer in the element chat every time for recording your answer. And then this goes either to you, the students, probably meaning that lands in the FIS office if you win. And if the TAs win, then this goes to the TAs. Plus, I also have these sweets, so chocolate and so on. So this goes to the student winner who survives the longest. So we are going to start. That's the Eiskage 100. That's how it's basically called on television. So let me go ahead. And go there. So you need to connect to the Clicker app. And I'm going to ask the first question. So SQL was tailor-made for relational or tabular integrity, domain integrity, and atomic integrity. JSONiq relaxes 3 conditions, except relational integrity, or except domain integrity, or except atomic integrity, or none of them. It relaxes all 3. So now you can enter your answer. For the survivor, it's all based on trust, right? It's not like there's $1 million francs to win, so there is nothing great at stake. So I trust you that you remain standing if you got it right. After, if you're eliminated, you can continue to answer, right? You can continue to participate. You should just be seated then. So for the TA team, you can speak with each other and determine. You wrote it in the element chat. All right, very good. You will understand very soon why we are doing this. You can't, no, it's in the TA team chat, right? Yeah. All right, so I give a bit more time for the first question to calibrate, so you get the time to open the Clicker app. And as time elapses, I will keep accelerating and giving less and less time so that we determine a winner. Has everybody answered? Does anybody need more time? All right, no complaints on Zoom. So now, this is the tricky part. So I'm going to basically ask every time the TA, have you recorded the answer? You have to be careful not to give me the answer yet, because then I stop the quiz and then you can give me the answer. So have you recorded the answer? Yes. So I'm going to close it. And your answer was? None of them, exactly. It's recorded on the TA team, so we can check that this is indeed correct. So indeed, that's the beautiful world of document stores. We relax everything. So now what happens is that if you got it wrong, you can sit, you should sit. And if you got it right, you remain standing. All right, all based on trust. All right. And so on Zoom, if you got it wrong, you just lower your hands, basically. All right. Here's another one. You can continue to answer if you're seated, of course, but you're just no longer competing for the winning streak. Which shape of data is most adequate to search for relevant textual contents? Trees, tables, graphs, vectors, or cubes? So I give you some documents, and you want to look for other documents that are very close semantically. Trees, tables, graphs, vectors, or cubes? All right, has everybody entered their answer? No complaint for more time? Have the TAs entered an answer in the TA chat? Yes? And the answer was? Vectors, yes, indeed. That was the Oracle guest lecture last week, right? It's the idea that you can encode words and documents as embeddings in a vector space, and then you look for other documents that are very close in that vector space. You can use the cosine, the Euclidean distance, and so on. All right, so here's another one. Which ones of the following data shapes were supported in extensions, data types, additional clauses, and so on, to the SQL language, whether standardized or not? Multiple answers possible. Was it trees, graphs, cubes, and or vectors? Is it a single selection? Oh no, really? Oh, okay. What am I going to do? Okay, so here's what we are going to do. Since I trust you anyway on the results, you have to think of the combination of the 4 in your head and enter one. Then I'll tell you which one or which ones are correct. And you need to have entered all four correct. So your combination of four, your subset of the four must be correct to answer this question correctly, right? All right, we'll do it in this way. But you enter one of those in the subset as a correct answer. All right, did everybody have time? Nobody complaining? Do the TAs have answers? So again, you should have a subset in your mind, in the power set of this set of four. So you have an answer in the chat? All four of them. There is an extension for trees. It's arrays and object types in PostgreSQL. There is an extension for graphs that's SQL over PGQ. There is an extension for cubes that's group by cube, group by rollup. And there is an extension for vectors. It's the vector data types that you saw last week. So all four of them. All right? Next question. Which one of the following clauses does not exist in PostgreSQL? Group by cube, group by rollup, group by grouping sets, group by grid. Which one does not exist? So this is the particular extension of SQL to support data cubes, as you imagined. One of them does not exist. Has everybody entered an answer? Yes? See no complaints. Has the TA team entered an answer? Yes. And the answer of the TA team is? Group by grid, yes. Don't know why it's not marked, but cube exists, rollup exists, grouping sets exist. It's group by grid that doesn't exist. That's what we saw 2 weeks ago. All right. We already have a diminishing number of survivors and 6 on Zoom. What is the maximum order of magnitude for the size of data that you can store in a single HBase cell, white column stores, without causing performance issues? Can you go all the way to 100 kilobytes, to 10 megabytes, to 5 gigabytes, or to 5 terabytes in the same cell? Has everybody entered their answer? At least everybody who is standing? I hear no complaints. Has the TA team entered an answer? Yes. And your answer was? 10 megabytes, exactly. All right, so typically JSON, XML, videos, and so on. All right. What is the current system used by Google which succeeded Bigtable with support for exabytes of data in the same system? Is it Spanner, Spinsuval, Kubernetes, or HBase? Has everybody entered their answer? I hear no complaints. Has the TA team entered an answer? Yes, right. And your answer is Spanner, exactly. Kubernetes has nothing to do with Bigtable, right? We are talking about white column source. And HBase is the name of the open source version of Bigtable, but this is not what Google uses. HBase is the Hadoop open source version of Bigtable. All right. How many survivors do we have in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 people plus on Zoom. 3, so 12 in total. And the TA team is also still here. Which of the following is not an atomic data type? String, array, date, hex, binary. Which one is not an atomic data type? Has everybody entered an answer? I see no complaints. Has the TA team entered an answer? Yes, okay. And the answer, oh. Oh, what did I do? It reset, okay, I clicked on the button. Well, I trust you on that. So what did you say? Array, exactly. Array is not an atomic value, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 plus 3, so 10. Which of the following is not a physical evaluation pattern in a query engine like MongoDB? Materialized execution, streamed execution, parallel execution, dematerialized execution. One of them is not one of the physical evaluation patterns to compute the results of an expression. Has everybody answered? Especially those standing? Yes? And the TA team also? Dematerialized. All right? Indeed. Materialize is when you store the entire intermediate results. Stream is like Netflix. Parallel is when you spread it over multiple cores or machines. 6 plus 3, so 9 survivors. So now I'm going to hit a little bit here. In 2014, Spark broke the gray sort records, which is about sorting 100 terabytes of data. How much time did it take for Spark to store 100 terabytes of data? 34 seconds, 1.4 minutes, 23 minutes, or 3 hours? So the gray sorts, that's a benchmark for comparing systems. And every couple of years, there is a system that breaks the records. Has everybody entered an answer? And the TA team too? Are you sure about your answer? I'm not sure about your answer. Okay. Wow, 23 minutes. We have 3 survivors, 4 survivors in the lecture hall. And on Zoom, 2. So 4 and 2, 6 survivors. And the TA team is still in the race. The current record was broken in 2016 by Tencent, who did it in just a couple of minutes. But Spark was 23 minutes in 2014. Why is Hadoop called Hadoop? Was it randomly produced with a password generator? Is it a distortion of add up, which refers to the aggregation that MapReduce uses while reducing? Is it a reference to an episode of The Simpsons with a lot of donuts, or is it named after the elephant toy of Doc Cutting's son? Have you all entered an answer? Yes, the four of you. No complaints on Zoom. Have you entered an answer? Are you sure of your answer? Doc Cuttingson, absolutely. 3 survivors in the lecture hall and 2 on Zoom. All right. Is this document valid JSON? Yes, no, not precise enough, it depends. Have you entered an answer? Yes? You as well, and on Zoom too? I realize that I need to plug my computer to power if I don't want it to suddenly crash. All right. So you've entered the answer? Yes? And it's not precise enough because you need a schema. If you don't have a schema, then you cannot say if it's valid or not, right? Still 3. That's well-formed. We say well-formed. Yeah. That I said a few times in the lecture that we need to distinguish between well-formed and valid. All right. What is index-free adjacency? Instead of joins, the data is structured and linked using native pointers, or the adjacency matrix is indexed on rows and columns, or relational joins are used instead of adjacency matrices, or it's a technique to sort documents on a given field for binary search. Index-free adjacency. I'm going to start to maybe limit the time, so to have a winner. Has everybody answered? Yes? And the answer is the first one. Yes, that's for graph databases. Ah, wow, 2 survivors. And on Zoom, how many survivors on Zoom? No one. So it's one of you who is going to win. Okay. So if you both answer incorrectly, you both stand up again because we need a winner, right? Do document stores have schemas for their documents? You've answered? Yes? Yes? And yes? Okay. So the answer is it can be done and it can even be done later, right? Did you get it right? All right. Now I have to accelerate a little bit. How do we deal with the allocation across multiple resources, CPU, RAM network on a cluster? Is it effective resource fairness, dominant resource integrity, or effective resource integrity? You have an answer, both of the answer? Dominant resource fairness. something incredible happens. We have a student winner. So come over here to collect your prize. Oh, there's still two? Oh, yes, there's two of them. Yes. I cannot see so far away. So, all right. So we continue then. You know the saying, there are three kinds of people in the world. There are the people who can count, and there's the people who cannot count. These words are on a high level synonyms except for one. Which one? So you have 20 more seconds. I'm limiting the time now. All right. You have an answer. What was it? Correct? Yeah. Did you both correct it correctly? Yeah. All right. We need to accelerate. There's just a few minutes left. Which one of these languages is not declarative? You have 10 seconds. There you go. Java. All right. What is a vector clock? 20 seconds. What is a vector clock? And stop. Correct? Still in the game. Wow, it's going to be difficult to break the tie. What is the name of Oracle's product that shares graph processing? You have 10 seconds. PGDX, GPXD, GPTX, PGXD. All right. You didn't answer how in time, and how does it look like for you? Did you answer both of you? Wow. Okay, impressive. So you won against the TA team. All right. How many bytes are there in a quetabyte? You have 15 seconds. Quetabytes. All right. How does it look like? You got it right? Do we have a winner, or are you still two in the game? Still two in the game. Wow. So there's 10 times 3 zeros indeed. That's 10 to the power of 30. Wow, wow, wow. How many petabytes are there in a quetabyte? These are the same, or 1 trillion, 1 quadrillion, 1 quintillion. 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Both of you again. Wow, this is incredible. Which of the following is not a cloud storage system offered as a service? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Both of you again. This is, no, we have a winner. All right. So big applause. So this is your trophy. What is your name? Marcus. Marcus, yeah. And this is for you. These are Swiss. So big applause. Congratulations. And for the other trophies going to ring soon, this goes to the FIS office. Is there a FIS representative here? Yes. So you can display this proudly in the FIS office as a memory. The student one. So this is it. Thank you everybody for attending. All the best for the exam. We are here to help in the preparation period with a lot of emotion. I'm telling you, goodbye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. I really appreciate this. Very glad. Thank you very much, everybody. I really had a great time. It was an awesome class, a lot of participation. So thank you very much. And we are here for you in the exam preparation periods. Goodbye. Thank you.